Hi friends, welcome to Tassel Tuesday. Tassel Tuesday is an open collaboration and you are welcome to join in anytime if you'd like to, and you don't have to commit to joining in every week. If you just want to make a tassel and share it on Tassel Tuesday, that's fine. You can use the hashtag Tassel Tuesday and then I will be happy to put your video in my description box, and that way people that follow Tassel Tuesday can easily find you and check out your video. That being said, please check out the description box of this video so that you can see all of our participants. Now, let's talk about this week's tassel. This week I'm doing something different that I have never done before. Let me back up. You guys know that I've got my pink bead organizer box, right? And I love it so much. And in that, I have all of my beads and the jewelry that I've picked up at the thrift store and all that good stuff. Well, when I use some of the necklaces for making different things, there's always like pieces of it, and there's some like leftover metal and like the chain part, and I don't know what to do with it. So I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and take that and see if we can make a tassel out of some of it. I don't have a plan. As you can see, I gathered up some beads. I gathered my green ones, my peach ones, and actually I was thinking about making two tassels, but making the one took me a while. I'm voicing over right now, so I'm talking in the past tense. So making the one took me a while because there were so many like little dangles and bobbles and stuff like that. So I didn't end up using any of the colorful beads that I had gathered. I ended up sticking with a steampunk feeling for this tassel. So in typical fashion for me, I'm jumping in with both feet with no plan at all. And I really don't mind working that way. It just helps me be really creative, so I just don't worry about it. I just go for it. So anyway, I decided that for this tassel I would use the black chain. Well, it's really like a dark nickel. It's not truly black. I don't know what we'd call it. Anyway, it's really dark. It's charcoal or whatever. And then we've got that. And then I have some silver. And there's like a variety of colors in the silver and, dark nickel family. The true black one, you see it on the right of the screen with the brown ones. And I'm saving that for something else. This particular chain has a strange shape, and I could not open it with that little ring thing that we put on our finger to open the O-rings, the jump rings. So I ended up just twisting it with two sets of pliers, and that made it come undone. So anyway, I wanted to show you that. So in thinking about how I was going to put this tassel together, I have my system for my fabric tassels, but this is new. So I ended up using some large dark colored jump rings that I put on the chain part of these, on the chains. And then I pulled out some lobster claws that I'm going to use to just add things to. But here what you see me doing is putting the large jump rings onto a bulb pin. So I'm thinking I'm going to end up hanging this from a ball pin, but I will tell you in advance, I end up switching it out because this tassel becomes a little bit heavy, and I don't think the ball pin can handle the weight of it. Now that I have the chain part of the tassel together, it's time for me to go ahead and start working with the beads. So I am going to go ahead and make some little dangles and things like that we can connect to those chains. I have two types of pins on my table. I have the eye pins that you can connect together, and then I'm not sure what the flat bottom ones are called, but I have those as well. And I do not prefer working with those but I am going to use those on this tassel. So most of the dangles that I make, I'll be using on those flat bottom pins. I just finished my first pin dangle. I'm not sure what they're called. We'll call it the dangle. And I will show it to you in a few seconds. But before I do, I am going to go ahead and make a little dangle using the little gears. Do you see the little gears on the table? I'm going to use all of those in this tassel. I'm slightly amused and slightly annoyed that my table is in perfect focus, but my hands doing the work are a little bit blurry, so I apologize for that. Here is our first completed dangle. I mentioned before that I'm using parts to necklaces that I have disassembled, and so right here I've got a lobster clasp, and I'm attaching that to a jump ring, and then I'm going to attach one of the small gears to it, and then I will attach that to this bead dangle here. So I think I did 2 or 3 of the bead dangles like that. For this next dangle, I'm doing something a little bit different. The closest thing that I could compare it to would be a ladder. So I end up using round beads, but then also like horizontal beads, and I end up using 2 pins, and then I connect them all together. So it kind of looks like an interesting ladder. I ended up taking lots of close-up pictures of this when I was done, and I tried to get all of the little parts and pieces, and I do believe that I got a photo of this piece as well. So I'll make sure that I put all the photos at the end of the video. This next piece was a lot of fun to make, and I'm sorry about the angle of my hands. You can't really see me put it together, but I ended up, well, what I'm doing here is I'm actually disassembling a pair of earrings, and later on I turned those into charms. But moving on now, I have a gear. It's at the very top of your screen. There's a gear there. So I end up putting that on one of these eye pins, and then I build on top of that and put some beads and this and that and the other, and it ends up turning out really cool. So I did get a picture of that, like I mentioned for the piece before. I'll make sure I put that at the end of the video. But I did really like the way that turned out. I wished I had had more of those larger gears, but I did not. I made most of the charms and dangles while the camera was not on, because it took me quite some time to do it. So now I've got the chains laid out on the table, and I'm kind of putting the charms down, thinking about, you know, when I'm ready to hook them on with the jump rings, where do I want them to be, and all of that good stuff. And I end up actually having to hang it up in order to do a lot of that, to really see where everything was going to be hanging. I got a lot of the little dangles onto it while I had it laying on the table, but you know, it kept like moving around and I couldn't find the center point, and like you need the center point to know where things are going to hang. So it was a little bit awkward. I went ahead and attached as many as I could before I hung it up and finished it. And actually I did pretty good. I only ended up moving just a few, maybe up or down slightly, just to, you know, when it hangs, you want it to look even. Switched out the ball pin for this heavy bronze ring. It's much heavier. This has some weight to it, so you could imagine. I just was afraid that the ball pin would end up stretching. So I put this bronze ring on it. Like I said, it's much thicker and heavier. And then we're going to go ahead and put this braided rope on it so that somebody could hang this from pretty much anything that they wanted. Or it could easily be cut off and changed out. Like if somebody wanted to hang this on a junk journal, then they could switch the rope out to something else, or cut the rope and have it, tie it to like a bull clip. So lots of options as far as attaching it to, you know, whatever you want to attach it to. This is big enough to go over a doorknob. Not that you'd want it hanging on a doorknob because it would be like banging into it. So, but I always like to leave more because somebody can untie this and tie it closer, or they can cut it and tie it closer, whatever, you know. So anyway, I would rather leave more than leave less. So let me show it to you. You saw all the materials that I pulled out in order to create it, and I didn't end up using all of them. Now I am definitely going to show it to you again once I take some pictures of it, because it will look different hanging. So off camera, just for the sake of not having too terribly long of a video, I created all these dangles. So let's spread them out so you can see them. Make sure I'm in camera. Yep. So I got this one. It's kind of like a ladder. It's kind of cool. I made this one. It's got a gear on it. So this tassel I did kind of in a steampunk theme, is the closest thing that I would call this tassel. Here there's an anchor. Here are just some metallic pieces and then a gear. Here we have an anchor and more pieces and dangles. On this one we have this really cool black and white clay piece, and I love it. Actually, my friend Paper Kitty 99 gave this to me, and I think it's really cool. Another anchor and then a gear here. This was an earring, and you guys saw me switch it out from an earring and turn it into a charm. On this one we've got a metallic heart, and there's a gear here on this nice long dangle, and then there's another anchor and then some more dangles. On this piece of chain, this was the silver chain that's in there. So what I did is I added the silver beads here. I did a gear and some of the black and silver beads, and then I did 4 silver anchors. And on the other side of the silver one, there's more of these silver beads. I have more anchors, and then here's a gear and then the black beads. This was the other earring. On each one of the 3 main pieces that come down, and when they fold in half, then it's 6 main pieces. But on each one of them, I have one of these dangles that I made. So now I'm going to take some still shots so you can see how it looks hanging. Well, I want you to know how much I appreciate you being here. Thanks for watching. See you soon.